Caitlin from Ag Biotech here. I'm at a sweet corn trial that we're doing out in Cowra, and we are looking to see what sort of moths we can capture with magnet. Now we know that magnet works on Lepidopteran moth species, and we've come out here yesterday to apply the magnet to see what we can find. So what I've done is I have put some cloth down. Now I've taken one side off, but basically we had weed matting set up between this row of corn, which had magnet applied to it. So the idea is that you can then very easily look through those mats and find any moths that have ingested the magnet and fallen to the ground afterwards. I have applied the magnet last night at around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I've just arrived on site. It's 6:45. There's a bit of a late sunrise this morning, and I'm just about to go in and have a look at some moths. Right, so I've got the high beams of my car assisting us with the visibility. So in this photo you can see the weed mats have been pulled out from under where they were pegged in the crop. So that's the advantage of using these weed mats. This is not only a lot safer because you're not gonna risk exposing yourself to the insecticide that's in the magnet when you are looking for the moths in the canopy. It's also a lot easier to see any moths that have fallen to the ground and are on those weed mats. It's much easier to count them, it's much easier to collect them this way. So one thing to note if you're going to do this is before you unpeg the mats, you might need to take a flashlight if it's still dark, and just whilst you're if you're walking through the adjacent rows, just make sure that you check them, that there is not any moths that have either been blown by the wind into the neighboring rows, or that have maybe sometimes after they ingest that magnet, they'll sort of flutter around and they can sort of fall into the next row over. So just to make sure that you don't miss any in your counting, I'd recommend doing that, as well as unpegging your weed mat and counting it on a flat surface so you can get a better idea of what your numbers are. A few more notes. I've just put this as a visual aid. The things that you might want to have with you in the field um, for your application and your collection process, I would recommend nitrile gloves that are chemical resistant, because if you're going to be touching those moths, they're going to have methomyl on them. So get some chemical resistant gloves when you're handling them. I would recommend using paper bags when you're collecting the moths. My experience has been that especially if you need to ID them, it can be very difficult once they've gone into a plastic bag. So if possible, get some paper bags, or even a sheet of paper that you can fashion into a paper bag, which is what I ended up doing, just to preserve those moths in the heat, in the wet. The other thing that I've got there is a bucket, which I use to carry my pegs and peg out the trial. Hope that helps. Good luck.